you all hear me? They don't look like they can hear me. Can you all hear me? Oh.
Can you all hear me okay? Am I lagging?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
It's just Professor Coleman is kind of right.
We're gonna get this. Am I back?
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Excellent. I'm so sorry. My computer just was like, bye, see you later. And so welcome. So nice to finally meet you and be able to speak with you in person, Lisa Snowden. Thank you for coming to our classroom. I'm here at Coppin State University. I have some students who are here in the classroom with me. And I have some students who are on Zoom, and their assignment is to be active listeners and participants in our conversation today as they learn. You are part of our reading and writing series. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with us and to be available for the questions that they are ultimately going to ask. But before we get to their questions, I wanted to just ask you, to tell us a little bit about yourself. They have been shared a bio, a very basic bio, where you started Baltimore Beat. You're a
Mhm.
former editor and writer at the Baltimore Sun, as well as the Real News Network. But if you can tell us a little bit more about who you are and what it is that you do.
Sure. And can everybody hear me okay?
Can you
Okay.
hear?
Um, so my name is Lisa. I am originally from Annapolis, Maryland. My mom is a school teacher, and I say that because my mother taught first grade and made sure that me and my brother went to the library like every week of my childhood. And my brother was like okay on reading. I loved reading, like from the very beginning. I would walk out of the library with like stacks of books. So pretty much from like elementary school on, I knew that I wanted to be a writer, to the point where I was like reading. I was probably the only little kid reading like book reviews in the newspaper, because I was like, well, I need to read book reviews because that way I'll know how to like write a book one day. So knew that I wanted to be a writer, knew that I loved reading, didn't know exactly what that was going to pan out to look like, because really there was not many people in my mom was a school teacher, went to college, even got a graduate degree in English, but very few other people in my life even had college degrees. Like then there nobody that I knew in my real life was a writer. It didn't seem like a real job for me, for the people that I knew. So kept kind of blindly walking towards that goal, not knowing really how it was going to happen. I graduated from high school. I graduated from Annapolis Senior High School. My English grades were amazing. My math grades were absolutely terrible. So my parents were like, we are not spending money to send you to a four-year school with these very mediocre grades. We will send you to community college. So that's what I did. I went to Anne Arundel Community College for the first 2 years, just took general classes, but also because I was going to be there anyway and I had to take a full load of classes, I took a lot of English and reading classes. I think I even took an intro to journalism class that they offered and really enjoyed those classes. Finished those in 2 years because of a program that was around then. I think it still exists now, where when you go to community college, you can basically transfer for free or like very easily to other Maryland colleges.
Yes.
Decided to transfer to Towson University. It was kind of between Towson and University of Maryland for me, because at that point I was like, okay, I'm ready to really say that I want to pursue journalism. And those were both good schools for journalism. It's just that University of Maryland is a huge school. And I was like, that's not me. I come from a small town in the suburbs. I'm not a big school type of girl. So I ended up going to Towson because it was a little smaller, and majored in journalism and communication. Went, yep, went to Towson. The last year of Towson, they make you, if you're a journalism major, again, I don't know what they do now, but 20 years ago, before some of y'all were born, they made you do an internship before you could graduate. So I did an internship. I ended up working at WBAL, which is Channel 11 TV here in Baltimore. Because at that time, I wanted to be in TV news. I knew that I did not want to be on camera, but I wanted to do something as far as like writing or producing for the news. So I got that internship. I ended up, because I was just like super eager, I found out that a producer for the Saturday morning show was like, if you want to come in early in the morning, I can show you how the show gets put together and you can even help eventually. So I was in college getting up at like 4 or 5 in the morning on Saturdays, drive up TV Hill to work at WBAL, starting off like rolling the little teleprompter so that the anchors could read it off the screen. But eventually, like I got to write some things, which was basically like, I don't know how much folks your age watch the news these days, but like if you're watching the news and it's like, you might see the anchor be like, there was a flood in Wisconsin. And then like the person will say some of the details and you can watch the video. Like I was writing those kind of things. And
Fantastic.
yep. So I did that. That internship came to an end. That producer was like, hey, I know that we're not hiring right now at WBAL, But WJZ, which is also on TV Hill, Channel 13, they're always hiring like part-time writers for the 4 or 5.
WJZ.
Mm-hmm.
She was asking what you say, WJZ.
Oh, sorry about that. And let me know if I need to speak slower or louder or anything.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay. So yeah, I applied at WJZ and just to be a part-time writer, and that was my first official journalism job after I graduated from Towson. And so I started off coming in at noon, right after the 12 o'clock news went off. We would start writing for the 4, 5, 6 o'clock news. Eventually, it expanded to where I was writing for the 11 o'clock news sometimes. Then it expanded more where I was writing, coming in at like midnight and writing for like Saturday morning news or Sunday morning news.
Why are you still at college at this point?
No, this is right after I graduated.
Okay. Oh, fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And then again, because I'm so old, they did have a website, but it wasn't really that serious. Like every once in a while, they would put some stuff on their website. But this was like 2003, 2004.
Okay.
And people were like, oh, I guess people look at the internet for news. So maybe we should have people that do the news just for the internet. And so I ended up being one of the first people hired at WJZ to write exclusively for the website.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It still wasn't a lot of my own writing. It was a lot of like rewriting things from other networks or taking the reporter scripts and turning that into, instead of like something that you heard the reporter say, turning it into like a written thing.
Oh, fantastic.
Yep. So I did that for a while, but I wanted to really start doing my own writing and reporting. I really figured out that I always knew that I was not going to be on the air. I was like, that's not my ministry. I thought I might be a producer, like the person that puts together the news. That is a very stressful job because you have to get, like, if you're producing the 5 o'clock news, you have to have all of that running perfectly, which means all of the reporters that are in the field, you got to know when to go to commercial break. I was like, that's stressful. All those people look stressed out. I don't want to do that. I did like doing special projects, which was kind of like, if you see sometimes on the news, they'll have like kind of a longer story, like a more in-depth package where there'll be like maybe some interviews. They go out in the field and interview and have video. I like doing those, but there wasn't really a lot of opportunity at that time for me to do that. So I said that I wanted to lean more into getting my writing skills up. And then I went to work for a website that does news for firefighters and EMTs and police officers. Did I know anything about those careers before I started that job? No. It was not my dream job. It was not the job that I thought about when I was in college, but I made the best of it. Like I got into it. I actually found out that there were interesting things about firefighting and being a professional EMT. I got to come up with my own story ideas. I got to travel and interview people. I did, again, very old. So I remember I wrote a story about like, because the president always does the State of the Union. So there was a Black woman from Maryland who was like an EMT or like a paramedic or something that was chosen by Barack Obama to be at the State of the Union. So I got to write about her. So it was really an opportunity for me to start learning how to interview people, come up with my idea of what the story should be, turn it in, and it got edited, work with the editor to make sure that it was the best it could be. And it was like really a lot of learning in ways that I hadn't even learned about in college.
That's fantastic. One of my students had a brilliant question about your longevity in the field, and I'm going to let her ask you the question.
Okay.
About 15 years.
Oh yeah, what made you be a journalist for 15 years?
Like to stick with it, because she's
Yeah.
telling you about her career.
I think part of it was just being very stubborn because, and I'll talk a little bit about this, journalism is very, very white. Like, even in Baltimore, in the newsrooms that I've been in, it's mostly white people, very few Black people. And for me, I feel like it's important for Black people to be there. Like, it's important for Black people to be talking about a Black city. And I've run into a lot of people that were not very nice people in this industry. And I'm just like, no, I'm not letting you win. Like, I just really it's the thing that I know how to do best. It's the thing that I feel the most passionate about. And so that's really, I think, what has made me stick with it, like being able to say, like, no, you're not going to push me out of this field. Like there are so many people that I went to school with that were also Black, and they don't work in journalism anymore. They might work in other ways where they use their degree, like maybe they work in PR or communications, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Those are great jobs and pay better. But for me, I feel very passionate about working in news and creating news about Black people.
Excellent. I have another question, and I'm one of those people you're talking about, Lisa. I actually got my master's from Towson, same program.
Okay.
So I know exactly what you're talking about. Can you ask your question?
My question was, what stories do you prioritize as an editor of Baltimore Beats? Like, what stories do you deem important for the city?
The thing that's important for Baltimore Beat is starting with the people that have the least power. That's where we start. I always say it's for anybody. It's a free newspaper that you can pick up anywhere. But I think about it as who needs this information the most? Who like isn't seeing themselves? Who is missing stuff? Like one story that I want us to write about, we haven't done it yet, but I'm about to yell at somebody until we do. The Reginald F. Lewis Museum, which is a museum here in Baltimore, a Black museum, is doing a kind of like a satellite in another part of the city, like a poorer part of the city. So it's basically this thing where they're bringing a museum to people, like the people that might need it the most, or people that might not be able to travel downtown and go to the Reginald F. Lewis. For me, that's a Baltimore Beat story because I love arts and culture. I think that's super important. And also it's a way that people are prioritizing people in need and improving access to people. So it's like, what do you need the most if you are a poor person, a poor Black person in Baltimore? You need to know what's going on, what things do you need to know most about. That's why we always have in our paper, every single issue has a resource guide. And that resource guide tells you like where you can go to get food and produce, where you can go to get your taxes done for free, where you can go to get, different programs that help you get internet access, because not a lot of people in Baltimore have internet access. So it's starting from the people that need the information the most and then expanding. So there's lots of white folks that read the Beat and like the Beat. There's lots of people with money that read the Beat and support the Beat. And they get things out of it, but we always start with who actually needs it. Those people with money, they can really get the news anywhere. But people that can't pay for subscriptions elsewhere, maybe don't have time to be like watching TV all day and listening to the radio. Those are the people that we think about first.
Fantastic. I'm going to ask one of my Zoomies or my students who are on Zoom if you can come off. Okay, because I can't see.
It's Abigail.
Okay, Abigail, can you ask your question, please? Thank you, you all.
Yeah. So now that I know that you do like informative journalism, how exactly where do you get your sources or information before you actually write it? Like, do you read other articles written by other journalists, or do you like go around in your community and like ask questions? Like, how's that process for you?
All of the above. So reading other articles helps. Going out in the community is a big part of it. Sometimes people will send us information just to let us know things that are going on. So all of those things contribute. Right now we have a new reporter. Her name's Corey. She's a Black woman that just came to Baltimore to work for the Beat for like 2 years under a program that we're part of. She's also the only Black woman, I think, in Baltimore writing about police. But Corey's not originally from here. She's from the Bay Area. And then she came here because she went to Columbia School for graduate school. So she's actually doing a lot of work right now. A lot of her work right now is not writing anything. She's written a few things, but a lot of her work right now is figuring out, who do I need to talk to in Baltimore if I'm writing about policing? Who are like the activists and organizers and the people doing different work? That's part of what her job is, to figure out how to. It's just like, and the thing about Corey that I think is also a thing that makes anybody a good journalist is just starting with curiosity. Like just wondering, like, okay, if I know that I want to write about this thing, who does that affect? How does that thing happen? If I want to think about write a story about the buses and why they're always late, who are the people that would be interesting to talk to? It's really just starting with there. There's not really a lot of right or wrong answers. It's just kind of like being curious and asking questions and following those questions.
Fantastic. Thank you.
I also want to say it was very difficult for me to choose between journalism and creative writing. I don't do a lot of creative writing now, but I do read a lot and love creative writing. So if anybody wants to talk about that, I can do that too.
Well, this is an English composition class, but I suspect that we do have some people who are interested in creative writing. So if anyone has a question about that, please write that down so you can ask. But I think we're going to go to Ariana, who has her hand raised to ask her question next.
Hi, I wanted to ask, what is your favorite subject or topic when it comes to the Baltimore Beat?
It's two, and they are very, very different. It's what Corey is doing, which is policing. I feel very passionate about policing. Really, ever since there was this incident that happened in Baltimore 10 years ago, where a man named Freddie Gray was killed by police. And after his death, it started off like unrest in the city. And it really led to this conversation about how policing does and does not work for Black people. Ever since then, I have been really curious about that. Like, how do we make it better? Who are the people that are working to make it better? I just love writing about policing because I feel like there's so much that people don't know about policing. We get a lot of like PR or like what police want us to think, but I really like getting to the root of what it actually is. The other thing I really love is arts and culture, because I think that Baltimore has an amazing art scene. And in some ways where people might not want to sit down and read like a 5,000 word article about the Baltimore City Police Department, they might want to read about like who the new like rappers in Baltimore are, who the new singers are, who the new like young Black painters and jewelry makers are. And it's a way to have the same conversations, really, because artists are creating art based on the world that we live in. But it's just another way of just having these conversations. For me, like, I don't know anything about art, never took one art class, but I just like going to art museums. I just really love art. So those are the two things that I care about the most, I think.
That's an excellent question. I love that response. Here's another question.
And I know Amor had a question also.
Let me do mine first.
Mm-hmm.
My question was like, how do you like defer like being biased towards certain articles? Like, how do you protect yourself from being biased?
Having a good team around me, because there's no writing that happens by yourself. I mean, I think when you're doing creative writing, well, actually, no, there's no writing that happens by yourself. Because if you're doing creative writing, you're probably sending it off to an editor. Like, let's say you want to write a book, you're sending it off to an editor. If you're writing an article for Baltimore Beat, you're also sending it off to an editor. And that editor is going to be like, okay, you said that the mayor's the greatest person ever. Where are the facts to prove this? Or said, that the BGE is taking everybody's money. If the facts aren't there to prove that, we can't publish that in the story. So I would say that everybody has their own biases because we all are experiencing the world in a different way. And the editing process is having other people that are not you make your work stronger by making you prove your point.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I won't go into my soapbox just yet. But when we move into MLA, they'll know that this is the same idea, but they are also self-editing as well. Or did you want to ask your question?
So my question was going to be like, so when you were in those rooms with people that weren't the same skin complexion as you and just not even agreeing with the type of writing you may have want to do, like, how did you deal with like when your feelings may have been hurt about certain situations? Like, how did you keep pushing and like keep striving to what you really wanted to do?
I yelled, I cried. The productive thing that I did was keep pushing. Like one thing that I wrote something about on LinkedIn that was kind of like a message for Black and brown people in newsrooms. Like, if you have ideas that are not being accepted in the newsroom that you're working in, just save it. Like, a lot of the things that happen that we do at the Beat are because I was trying to do them in other places and nobody wanted to hear my ideas. And I was able to get in a position where I could finally, implement them. So it really is just, again, it comes to sticking it out and figuring out how to get to the point where you can do the work that you want to do.
That's an excellent question, Amor. If you all see me walking around, I'm trying to find a iPhone charger so my phone doesn't cut out. This is we're making this happen, but it's not, the creator is not making this easy. I'm coming back here so you can ask your question, okay?
Hello. My question was, how do you build relationships with public figures like city officials and while still staying focused on your report?
City officials are easy because they want to build relationship with you. They're honestly the people that I'm least interested in building relationships with, because the mayor, you're going to know what the mayor thinks very easily. You're going to know what the city council president thinks very easily. They have not only their own, mouths and social media accounts, but they have staff that we pay to put out press releases and take pictures of them. So usually fine.
When you say we, not Baltimore Beat, but taxpayers.
Yes, taxpayers. We all pay.
Right.
So it's mostly just for them. It's as far as sometimes I have to be critical of them, but I want to be fair. And I especially want to be fair, again, thinking about a city like Baltimore, where most of those people are Black. So they also can face racism. So I don't want to be somebody that's adding to racism. I think that our mayor, Brandon Scott, faces a lot of coverage that is racist.
Yes.
But I also want to hold him accountable.
Right.
So it is like making sure, again, that I am being as honest as I can, as truthful, as fair. Always, if I am going to be critical, giving him the opportunity, even if he doesn't want to, but giving him the opportunity to comment. So that's pretty much how I work with them. And the part of my work that I think is actually the hardest, that I'm really just starting to get started with, is regular people. Like, how do I have those kind of relationships? There's only like a very small staff of the Baltimore Beat, but I always think about all the people in Baltimore City that don't even pay attention to the news because it's never really been useful to them.
Right. I was thinking of you when we saw Don Lemon come to Baltimore. He was walking the streets around my house asking people, and a lot of people didn't even know about what he was asking about, how Trump was thinking about deploying troops here to Baltimore.
Exactly.
I have a student here who has a really good question about AI.
Okay.
I had pretty much asked, how do you feel about how far AI got? Because they can potentially steal jobs from the people that jobs.
For me, AI, I use AI. The way that I use AI is I have a system on my computer called Grammarly. So when I'm writing things and I spell it wrong, or it has a suggestion for like how it could be phrased better, the Grammarly will put a little red line underneath it. But that's kind of the extent. I don't think that it's because the powers that be have decided that it matters. It's not going away. But also, people can never go away, because even when Grammarly is highlighting things and telling me that they're wrong, sometimes they're not wrong. Like, you still have to double check with everything. So it's a thing that I try to be realistic about, because it's a thing that we have in the world now. But it still is never going. There's not a shortcut to using your brain. There's never going to be a shortcut, because even the stuff that they're using, like the AI thing that's telling me what it thinks I got grammatically wrong, got that information from scraping other people's work, maybe even mine. So there's always going to be people in AI.
Thank you. I'm sitting here chuckling with your response, because they hear from me at least once a week telling them not to use AI, because we're in an English comp class, but not to use it to write their papers. But that is what, many students use it and have used it when that's all that Grammarly did. But now Grammarly has become where it's generative AI. So now it's you know, and I think that's where his question, where Charlie's question came from, is now it's not even just editing, it's writing whole sheaths of work and things like that. But they had to read two pieces on AI, and I forget the question. Which one of you all had the question about? It was something else around AI. I'm forgetting. Who else had? Was it a Zoomie or was it one of you all? Was it another question, or was it about Charlie Kirk?
I don't think it was about
Charlie Kirk and PBS. Am I making that up? Or were you just telling me what we talked about in class? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay. Who else had a question that I didn't get to?
Oh, can I just say one more thing about AI?
Sure.
I feel like so many people tell me that they can't write, and I'm like, are you sure that you can't write? Because nobody in the history of the world ever sat down and just wrote this magical thing that did not need any work. Like, I feel like sometimes people want to use AI because it takes you out of the uncomfortable part of writing something that you don't like. But literally, that is always going to happen. I've been a journalist for, again, over 20 years at this point, which is crazy to say. But no matter what, there's always that part where it looks ugly on the page because I'm just trying to figure out what I'm trying to think about. But once you start working through that, that's when you start getting to good stuff. Like the AI is never going to come up with better ideas or thoughts than your brain is going to. So like, don't think about AI, again, it can be a support for things. We're probably going to start using it because we have community calendars. It's great for scraping the web for events in Baltimore and giving them to us. But everybody in that classroom is more brilliant than AI. So don't be deterred from thinking or writing that's, that's messy or ugly on the first draft.
That's the most speech.
Yeah.
My question was,
Talk a little bit louder.
my question was, when you're presenting like sensitive topics, is there a way that you structure it to try to cause less distress for the audience?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've done some reporting on, crimes related to like, sex-related crimes, crimes related to, things related to those kind of sensitive subjects, people being hurt. And we always try to put like a trigger warning at the beginning to just let people know that there are instances. Like I think one time we ran a poem because we run poems from students in Baltimore, and one was about a young lady who was talking about an eating disorder that she had. So for even that, we put a little trigger warning that was like, this is about an eating disorder. So if you have some kind of sensitivity around that, just be careful before you start reading.
Fantastic. That's a great question. I told him that with journalism, you just tell it like it is, but it's good to know that you are sensitive to that. And so that was a great question that he asked. And I before you came on, I was sharing. Again, I conflate. I have two classes, so I don't know if did we talk about what happened on Pennsylvania and North Avenue in this class? But do you know what I'm talking about this summer?
BJ, the former Arabber that was shot by police.
That happened there as well, but
Oh, the
no.
overdose, the mass overdose.
The mass overdose that took place on Pennsylvania and North Avenue. That literally is around the corner from where I live. And I was teaching here at Coppin this summer and was on my way home, and it was backed up. I had to find an alternative way home because I couldn't go past Pennsylvania Avenue. And one of the things that I was talking about it with my other students in my other class was that news stories were reporting that it happened, that it was over 24 people that had fallen out and had gotten some type of bad drug that had caused these overdoses. But I was not able to find anywhere regarding what exactly the drug was. And are there times where you are asked by authorities not to include all the information in a news story because an active investigation is happening?
Often.
Okay.
And so then we'll say just to let our readers know, we asked about this question and we're told, we can't, like there's all types of things that the police department never tells us because they're like, it's an active investigation, so we can't speak on it right now. Or like, if the mayor has to fire somebody because maybe they were doing something bad, sometimes they can't report on all of the details because then it's like a HR issue and they can't give you all the details. But then we have to say, we asked the mayor's office and the mayor's office said they can't comment on, HR related things.
Okay, gotcha. Was there any question that you all had that you have not got the opportunity to ask?
I have another question.
Oh, we're gonna get to everyone getting their first one out first, okay? Come on, Mila.
I had asked, how do you handle giving people the information they need versus the information that they want to read?
That is a really good question. And I try to do a little bit of both. And I think that's why I like having the newspaper, because basically the way our newspaper is set up is the front of the paper is the news stories. The back of the paper is more of the fun things. So there's always going to be like some news features when you first open up the paper. Once you get past like our photo stories, we always have like a photo essay. That's kind of like the midpoint where it can be newsy or it can be artsy. But then it's like the art stories or our music reviews or the film reviews, or we also have a lady that writes horoscopes. We also have like, I think, a crossword puzzle. So I feel like that way, maybe somebody really just picked up the paper because they want to do the crossword puzzle or they want to see what their horoscope is, but maybe they'll be bored enough where they're like, you know what, I do want to read this 5,000 word story on the Baltimore City Police. So it's kind of like having a balance of like things that are more just fun and lighthearted and things that are more serious. Because I'm like, just imagine, I can't imagine like, you never want to be the person that goes up to somebody and every day all they have is bad news. After a while, you're not going to be able to, you're not going to even want to talk to them. So it's not just a thing where I want to just do bad news. I want to make sure that there's a good mix of different things.
Fantastic. All right. Did you want to ask your second question?
Did Seven ask a question?
No, I was waiting.
Okay, so Seven, I can't see the chat from my phone. So ask your question. I'm sorry about that.
My question was, when you started journalism, what mistakes did you make that you overcome, and like how did you improve from it?
I made a lot of mistakes. A very dumb mistake that I used to make was I would come in at the wrong time. When they would have me come in overnight, I would somehow, like twice, I read it as thinking it was the next day because it was like midnight. And there was an older Black lady in there, and I think she's the one that saved my job because she was like, they were about to fire you. So like not
So what, you were coming in at 12, you were coming in at 12 noon or instead of midnight?
Like the next day. I don't know what the heck I was doing. I was like 23. So like not reading my schedule was a big mistake. And then I just had to be more careful. With writing, there's a lot of mistakes that I make. And it's just listening, making sure that I listen and take into account the edits that I get. Like when somebody tells me something, I'm trying very hard to make it be the only time they ever have to tell me that thing that I need to correct. What else? One thing that I did that I would not advise other people to do, but I don't know if it was a mistake, was for me, I say a lot of things about what my opinion is on social media. And so I will talk about where I think the mayor is, I don't think that he should be, say, giving the police a bunch of money, or things that I feel like in Baltimore are racist, or things I think in journalism are racist. I would not advise other people to do that because I was able to do that. Number one, I started doing that after I had been in this business for a while. And when I started doing the kind of journalism that I am in. So because of what I've said, it makes it difficult for me to work in other newsrooms, but I knew that when I said it. So for that, I would say if there are things that you want to be public about and say like on your own as a journalist, be very careful and see whether you think it's really worth it for you or not. Because if you're young and just starting out in your career, you want to make sure that you have more opportunities. Not all newsrooms want to like do a search on you and see that you've been saying all these things about Donald Trump or politics or whatever. Again, I don't think that it's something you should never do, but just be very careful and be careful about the kind of career that you want when and if you do those kind of things.
There are two things that you just said, and I think it would be fair to bring to the attention that a lot of legacy media is owned by billionaires and by conservative people. So when you say that, and then you talk about the kind of work that you do, which you started this, you started Baltimore Beat, and you are a community paper. You are for the people and mostly by the people doing the writing. And so I don't want it to be left unsaid, because I don't think my students can assume or know that what you're saying is that a lot of our media today is corporate owned by billionaires. And there's a situation right now with a reporter from the Washington Post who basically did a story on Charlie Kirk, who was fired and is suing the Washington Post. But what is coming out now is that it wasn't so much what she wrote, because she was merely quoting him, but it was a lot of the things that she was saying on social media about her personal opinion about him. And so this example that she's is very timely and relevant to what's going on right now. So I'm gonna thank you, and I'm gonna tell you that there are people that still have questions.
Excuse me, can I ask my question?
No, not right now. I'm gonna ask Ms. Snowden. Ms. Snowden, how can my students ask you questions directly? What would you prefer, for them to send you an email directly, or for me to send you their questions in one document? What would you prefer?
They can email us. I'm putting my email address in the chat and our managing editor's email address in the chat. I told her that I was going to be talking to y'all, and she said, well, don't forget to tell them that we're also looking for writers. So one thing that we do is called Best Beats. And it's like little short, maybe 200, 300 word pieces that are talking about new music that's being made in Baltimore. So some musicians have sent us stuff, but we're all old. So y'all probably don't know different musicians than us. So you could even pitch us, like if you know your friend has an album coming out or something like that, you can pitch us and ask to write a Best Beats blurb. And that's a kind of a low stakes way of starting to write. And it's a little bit of like news writing, but also creative writing, because it's like a music review. And then also we work with some students from Morgan now. So I always tell students also, you don't have to wait until you get a degree to be all of a sudden now you are officially a writer. If you have things that you want to write about, just reach out to us and we can maybe make sure that you get published.
That's fantastic. What a wonderful way to end. I want to thank you so much. I know you and I have been in contact all year through LinkedIn, and I'm very appreciative that we were finally able to make it happen. I appreciate you to the moon, and I hope to stay connected. Thank you so much, Lisa Snowden, and we will talk soon. Bye-bye.
Stay in touch, please.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.